Again, I'm Jim Van Blittle. I'm at Hersey High School. We are an ASE certified training program like all the other schools in the district. All of us offer pretty much the same certifications, I think, across the board, and cover the same material throughout the 4 years of automotive that we can offer your students in the high school. With us is Sean Murren from Buffalo Grove High School, Richard Geyer from Rolling Meadows High School, as well as Abe Lopez, who graduated from Hersey 2 years ago now and did the apprenticeship program through the district and is now fully employed at Arlington Heights Ford. Been there for what, 2 years now, Abe?
Around a year and a half.
Year and a half? Yeah. So I will let them, I kind of introduce everybody. I'll let Sean take it away.
Sean Murren, Buffalo Grove High School, 29th year of teaching, and then had 6 years in an auto shop before that. We also have 4 levels of auto at the high school here at Buffalo Grove. We are also ASE certified, and I hope to answer any questions I can tonight.
Yeah, Rolling Meadows High School auto instructor here. My name is Richard Geyer, a former graduate from Elk Grove High School. And under Mr. Zdenovic, who's still teaching there, is the auto instructor there. This is my 14th year teaching automotive, my 2nd year at Rolling Meadows High School. And we are ASE certified, ASE accredited. Most automotive teachers here have ASE accreditations in electrical, suspension, brakes, maintenance and light repair, and whatever other ones they have along the way. So those are kind of like your standard ones that we have. But welcome, and I'm open to any questions that you have about the program.
My name is Abraham Lopez. I graduated about almost a year ago, I think it was. Jim Van Bladel was my teacher. I currently go to Universal Technical Institute. And like Van Bladel said, I have been working at a Ford dealership for about a year and a half right now.
Awesome. And is anybody from Triton here? I don't think I saw.
I don't see anybody.
No? Okay, super. So we also work with Triton College for our dual credit programs. So our highest 2 automotive programs that are offered in all the buildings, vocational auto, as well as engine performance, are honors credit towards your GPA, and vocational auto has a entry-level ASE maintenance light repair portion associated with it. And if students pass that exam, they will receive transcripted credit for AUT 112, which is a whole bunch of numbers that don't matter. But that is the intro autos class at Triton that would then potentially transfer to Southern, Ferris, or whatever other university a student may want to go to. So I've got a list of questions here that I'm supposed to kind of go through with everybody. But I kind of wanted to ask the auto instructors, what is kind of your normal sequence when a kid comes in as their first year auto student? How old are they? What are the types of things that they would expect to do? I guess we'll start with Sean.
We see freshmen in the beginning, so they come into as a freshman. And we do have sophomores that come in, but most of our kids are coming in as freshmen. They are taking our auto systems class. Our auto systems is designed to just introduce the automobile, safety being the first and foremost. We talk safety. Most of these kids have never worked in an auto shop before, so we want to make sure they're safe. And then in a nutshell, in the time frame we have, we just talk a little bit about each of the car systems and just introduce it. Nothing super high level, but just give them some basic knowledge. 2nd year, they come back to us as diagnostic students. And then 3rd year, as Van Bladel already mentioned, they have vocational auto is what we do as our 3rd year. And then our 4th year, our students leave the building and work in a power on-site off-campus program. So that's the sequence that we run. And we also do get a fair amount of seniors, but this is more career-oriented. So I would say we'll stay away from that.
For sure. Yeah, so there is that post option as well. So there's kind of 2 different paths that students can take when they're in that level 4. kind of year for automotive. There is the district internship program, which is run through the district, and they have options for micro internships. They have full year internships. They have summer internships. And there's different criteria that the kids need to meet in order to qualify for those internships. And that's what Abe did. So I'll let him talk about that in a second. And then we also have this power on-site training class that is more run through kind of our buildings. Oh, I should have changed the slide. There it is. That's kind of run through. Wow.
We do not see the slides, just so you know.
Oh, really? Fantastic. Let me go ahead and make sure.
I'd like to just
sure.
interrupt real quick. I put it in the chat, but our apprenticeship and internship program is run by Kim Carlson right now, and I put her name. And if you can email her with kim.carlson. I'll put her email in there as well.
Yep.
But we offer like the apprenticeship program and the internship program, typically your junior or senior year. When I was Elk Grove Village, I was in the apprenticeship program. This was years ago now. And I would be able to leave school. I still remember the time, 12:51. I would get to leave school and go work in an auto body shop in Schaumburg. And I still have connections there. And I'm someone who basically graduated from the program, and look at me now, like I'm one of the automotive instructors at the district. So I'm someone who really took advantage of these programs that District 214 offered about 20 years ago now.
Yep. So, hey, I was
going to say, let me jump in real quick, if you don't mind. You know, the name Kim that Mr. Gear just talked about, she actually works just at Meadows, I believe. And I think that was just put in the chat also. So each building will have their own career counselor to work with, but talk to your automotive teacher and we will get you to the right people. So
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. So, Abe, what was your kind of day like when you were doing the internship program while you were going to Hersey?
Yeah, so I also did the apprenticeship, not the internship. But what I would do was I would go to school in the morning and take maybe two, 3 classes. So like they said, I'd leave around 12:50. I don't know how the schedule works anymore. I think it's around there, 12:50. And from there I go straight to Ford. And then they put me with one of their technicians over there to shadow and learn how everything works, how everything's run until when I had to, but I stayed until 6 till closing.
Yeah. And one of the things that the district covers with all of that is the insurance issues. I know that's a concern with a lot of dealerships of having a student working on a car and they're not 18. When you're running through the apprenticeship program, it's not a concern with insurance. Transportation can be covered depending on funding that available. You can apply for transportation to get to and from work. There are a lot of different options that you have and a lot of different dealerships that we can work with. I have a student right now working at a shop in Des Plaines that builds parts for professional race car teams. And she leaves every other day at noon and then goes to work at Fast Cooling in Des Plaines. So there's a lot of different options out there to get you into the automotive industry. Abe chose to go in the technician route. My student has chosen to go more in the kind of aftermarket route, but there are a lot of different companies that are in the automotive world where your students can learn everything from turning wrenches to designing and working at the corporate side of automotive. Let's come back to kind of our individual classes. I wanted to ask, I guess, Sean first. Are there any like industry level certifications that you offer in your program that students can work towards while they're in school? And kind of what advantages do you feel that those certifications offer those kids?
We have multiple certifications, third-party accreditations, NC3. There's a logo on the back of the board behind us that is sponsored through Snap-on. If they complete the Snap-on multimeter course, they can then take a third-party accreditation through NC3. We do offer the multi-level ASE tests so the kids can take their student ASE certifications. All Data provides their own little certification that the kids can take. I would say this, the biggest advantage that I've seen with those certifications is more student confidence than anything. I think the employers like them, and if they're working in an apprentice program or you know, their first job, whatever the case may be. Some of the employers appreciate those and they respect them and they like them. But I think for me, it's the student confidence that the students get going. I completed something and I'm certified to do it. And I think that builds their confidence more than anything else. Even though it is an industry standard and acceptable standard, I've seen the confidence in the kids to go, oh my goodness, I not only know that, but I'm certified in it. And that's where I see the biggest advantage to the certifications we offer.
Rich, anything to add?
He muted. Richard, you muted yourself.
No, I think that was great. I think that was perfect. And I think the opportunity that District 214 gives their students to take those student ASEs at the end of the school year is a great opportunity for them, because that is the official certification that people would look for. If they're looking for any certification in the automotive world, whether you're on the business side or the mechanic side or the service side of it, an ASE certification is going to be the first thing that they would kind of look for.
Something just made noise in my shop. Yeah, fantastic. Abe, is there anything that you wanted to share about what you're doing now as a career and how the courses that you took at Hersey or the apprenticeship program kind of help prepare you for your actual career?
Well, kind of got me into the foot of what I wanted to do. At first, I wasn't really sure, but also gave me a bit of knowledge going into Universal Technical Institute, so I wasn't all blindsided with all that information that came into me all at once. So that helped pretty well.
Yeah, I think one of our jobs as instructors, it's not just teach kids how to work on cars. It's not just about hammering out how many certifications that they can get and how many certificates they can have. I think one of our goals as instructors and showing kids these different career paths is teaching them kind of which paths to go down, because there's really not just one automotive career path. The automotive industry is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry, and kind of our job is to show kids which education route they could go down to get to where they want to be. In Abe's case, doing that apprenticeship program and going to UTI and working full-time, that was his career path, and that is a phenomenal path, and that's what worked for him. We also, like I said, we have that dual credit program through Triton College. There are several training programs that are out there that do certificates from the aftermarket, like UTI, like Wyotech. There are also programs run through Triton College, through College of DuPage, through, what am I missing? Oakton. College of Lake County. All of those junior colleges will have programs that are certificate-based programs where the students will walk in and take brakes classes, take engine classes, and they will get certificates from those programs that they understand those technologies and those systems. But they could also have the option to take an associate's degree program, like the GM program that's offered at Triton, where you are getting an associate's degree and taking traditional English, math, and science courses along with your automotive curriculum. Those classes also transfer to four-year universities like Southern, like Ferris. Those are kind of the two big automotive ones in the Midwest that I think most of our kids go to or look into. And students that go there are trained to come out as like management positions in some of those dealerships doing fleet management. You could 100% be a tech as well. You go through all the technical training. But those students are typically working for General Motors as opposed to in a General Motors dealership. A lot of the internship programs are in Detroit. They're working for companies like Navistar, for Continental, for Norfolk Southern, for Train, anything with a motor, there is an industry for it. And the automotive education is what gets you there. So kind of our goal is to show kids all these different pathways and help them or guide them to the educational path that will get them where they want to go, because there are hundreds of pathways out there. Anybody else want to add anything to that?
There's everything from wrapping cars with vinyl, tinting cars, modifying them for off-road use, car racing, car media. There's actually a classmate of mine from Elk Grove High School. His name's Andrew Kroc, and he writes for Car and Driver magazine. So he's a writer now. Pretty much, I mean, a magazine doesn't even have an engine. They're just talking about engines, and he's in that field. So, I mean, it's endless. It really is endless, it seems like.
For sure. Those of us that are in here, do you want to throw a few questions in the chat here? So we had a question about diesel engines being obsolete in the next 10 years. If so, what's needed to be, to work on engines? So that's kind of one of the wonderful things about the automotive industry, is that things are always changing. We were just at a training session as automotive instructors. We do 20+ hours of industry training every single year from the industry professionals. We were just at Parkland College in Champaign, doing trainings of our own. And the people we were learning from were the field service engineers, which is a wild job, where the gentleman that was doing the presentation, his job is to travel around and diagnose the brand new Ford Lightnings. When a Ford Lightning has a problem, his job is to go help the tech figure it out and diagnose it and fix the issue. So will things be obsolete? Sure. I don't really teach much on carburetors these days, but cars still use gasoline. And when it comes to electric engines and hybrid motors, yes, things are going to be going more electric. Yes, we're going to see more hybrid vehicles, but there will still be gasoline cars on the road for quite some time that will need service. So we teach that, but we also are beginning to teach hybrid stuff and hybrid safety and how those systems work and how to diagnose them. There were lots of fears at the turn of the century about internal combustion engines and people sitting on top of exploding gasoline. Those same fears are kind of there when it comes to working on hybrid vehicles and high voltage vehicles. And it's really just about safety training and going through the proper procedures to make sure you are working with electronics safely. And that's kind of our job, to make sure that our curriculum is up to date with what is coming out next. And that is something that every single teacher in District 214 does to prepare your students for whatever's coming next. All right, I could throw out a whole bunch of technical things that won't make sense to anybody but the 3 autos teacher, 4 autos people that are here. But there's a lot of new stuff. It's really neat. And that's the stuff that kind of gets us excited to work on cars. It's a giant puzzle of new technology, and figuring out how it works is kind of why we get up in the morning. If you heard us talking about wiring diagrams for 10 minutes before the section started, that's the kind of stuff that gets us excited to work on cars. So yes, we will still cover the old stuff. Yes, we are covering the new stuff. And I think the changing of technology is kind of what makes this field interesting. And also what makes this field marketable, and why your students can, it's kind of vulgar to talk about money, but will make the money that they will make in the automotive industry, whether it be at a tech, as a service manager, service writer, or somebody working in Detroit for the Big Three, or Navistar in Indiana.
So let me put my 2 cents in there. I do think as the automotive profession changes even more so, I mean, every car that we drive is a supercomputer today. I do think you're going to see different levels of technicians. You're going to basically have your lower paid technicians that are putting exhaust systems on and basic maintenance. I think you're then going to have your medium level techs, and you're going to have your higher end techs. And depending on what your sons and daughters want to go into, I think, the money's going to be made in that high-end diagnosis, that computer using scopes to actually analyze waveforms rather than just turning wrenches. The downside is a lot of kids like to turn wrenches. It's physical, it's fun. But really, in my opinion, and this is my opinion only, the money's going to be in the higher end electronics end of the automotive industry. One more thing, I think one thing that will never go away, whether engines are obsolete or cars or whatever, is problem solving. To be a technician, you need to problem solve. And that's one of the things that I think we do in our classes, even as our level one, we try to get kids to think. We don't do worksheet after worksheet of just fill in the blank. It's thinking, learn to think, learn to problem solve. And if you can problem solve, even with an evolving and changing automotive industry, you'll be able to survive and you'll be able to compete because you can solve problems. Those are my 2 cents.
So there's a question here for Abe. How long does it take to go through the program at UTI? And there was a question here about ASE certifications. Are you doing ASE certifications while you're at UTI, or kind of what's your goal while you're going there?
So I'm not too sure how long the auto program is, only because I'm in the auto and diesel. So for me, it's like 25 courses, which are 3 weeks long. So all the information is kind of hammered. It's a little faster pace, which will take me about a year and a half. But I think the auto program is around 12 weeks, which is like 6 to 8 months, I think it is. I'm not too sure. So in less than a year, you'll you'll have a certification of like saying you have basic knowledge of a car, basic knowledge of that. And for ASC certifications, I haven't taken one yet, but in I think every 2 or 3 months, they hold up sign up sheets for you to take your ASC certifications.
Great. So yeah, so there's a lot of certifications kind of get thrown around. There's about 1 million of them. The difference between ASE, Automotive Service Excellence, that company, and a place like Ford or a place like UTI, ASE is a third party. So in order to become ASE certified in a specific area, like Rich was saying, there's a certification for brakes, steering, suspension, electrical, engine performance, and so on. And they have them for hybrid and EV stuff as well. In order to hold that certification, you need to pass an exam. It's a 60 to 80 question exam. Pass it with, I believe it's 80% accuracy, I think is what it is. And in addition to passing a paper exam, you need to have 2 years of work experience in that field, which I think is a phenomenal thing in order to achieve a certification level. It's not only based on your test taking ability. It's based on, have you worked in the industry for 2 years? And it's that for all 8 of the automotive ASEs, as well as the EV ASEs. There's 2 of those now. And that's very different than the certifications that Abe is doing when he is at Ford. So Ford has their own certifications for their techs. And as you are working as a tech, in order to do, let's say, a transmission job, you need to be Ford transmission certified. You have to take those classes before you end up getting that transmission job or engine rebuild job, whatever it may be. So ASE is kind of like a third-party overarching program for just techs in general. And then each manufacturer is going to have their own thing. Like I said, Parkland has Ford training, so you can graduate from Parkland College after, I think it's 18 months or 2 years, as a Ford master mechanic with their program. The same way that you could go to Triton and do their GM program and graduate from there after 2 years with an associate's degree and be a GM certified master mechanic. You'll have all those certifications through your actual dealership, through that group, as opposed to ASE, which is kind of more broad. Kind of going along with what Sean was saying as far as the different levels of techs that are doing the different jobs and the pay that you get with that. A lot of these shops are basing their pay on the certification, and they're also basing the jobs that you get while you're at work based on your certification. So the higher level of certifications you have, the more certifications you have, the more jobs you're going to get, and the more you're going to get paid while you're doing those jobs. The automotive industry is a little bit different. When you're a tech, you are typically not punching in at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and punching out at 2 o'clock. I guess 9 to 5 would be a more appropriate hour window there. You're typically not punching out and getting paid for the hours that you're there. In the automotive industry, you are being paid for the numbers of hours that you build. And that's kind of a different way of thinking about it. Perfect, thank you, I will answer that. When you start out, let's say you've got two technicians that are doing the same job. Let's say it's an alternator. And I'm a really, really good tech, and I can do that job in 1 hour. And Mr. Murrin is a bad tech. It takes him 4 hours. When you go into any shop and pay for an alternator, General Motors, let's stick with the General Motors example, they will tell a dealership that that job should take 1.5 hours to complete. If I complete that job and do it well in an hour, I get paid for an hour and a half. And so people think, well, why did I get paid for something I didn't do? Well, I got a bonus because I did the job well and I did it quickly. The flip side of that is if Mr. Murrin does that alternator and it takes him 4 hours, it's not fair for the customer to pay for 4 hours of time when that job should have only taken an hour and a half. It's also not fair for Mr. Murrin to make 4 hours of pay when he should have had the job done in an hour and a half. So it incentivizes the technician to be better at their job, have the tools that they need, have the training that they need to get those jobs done quickly. And it also prevents customers from being overcharged for work they shouldn't have to pay for. So that kind of is how that works. As a starting entry-level tech, Abe, you might be able to answer that question a little bit better. I want to say entry-level lube tech is like 16 an hour, somewhere around there. Entry-level tech, if you were like a journeyman tech, do you know what the starting rate is there?
I don't know the starting rate, but I know how much some people at my shop make.
Perfect,
And
let's do that.
And I know one guy makes around 50.
Yeah, so that sounds about right for somebody that's been working there for a couple of years. 50, 60,000. There are also those edge cases of those phenomenal techs that are making six figures as well. As techs, that is not out of the question. But starting, yeah, I would say somewhere between $40,000 to $50,000 a year. Students that go to some place like SIU or Ferris and have a bachelor's degree in automotive, most of them are starting somewhere between 60 to 70 with that bachelor's degree in my experience. And most of those students have also signed contracts to work with companies before they graduate. They've done internships through their sophomore, junior, and senior year, and then usually get hired on with that company that they've been working on and go that route. So there's kind of, like I said, there's 12 different paths that you can go down in the automotive industry. Finding the right one for you, I think, is our job. And one of our jobs is to not only teach your students how to work on cars, but if working on cars or working around cars is something that they want to do, our job is to help him or her find that right path. Did I answer that question? Any other questions from the chat here? What else we got?
What other questions do you have on that form for us? Is there anything else?
So what other careers kind of have your students gone into that maybe aren't as traditional? I think there's a lot of like pigeonhole things that people think about when it comes to, I'm going to go in the automotive industry. And most people think technician route. What other routes kind of are there for students that have gone through your program and gone on to the industry?
I think that's a hard question to answer based on easy and hard, based on, what the student ends up doing. We've been all over the place with graduates from BG. We've had, we have people down at Southern go to Southern and, they think they want to go as a technician and graduate from Southern. The beautiful thing about Southern Illinois Automotive School is they have a lot of industry partners that they work with, and a lot of those kids are picked up by industry partners. And instead of working as a tech somewhere, we've had kids working as engineers in different areas, working with, Bosch and wiper blade development. The possibilities are endless. We've also had kids that just end up leaving high school from our program. They go directly into the workforce and without any official formal training, and they're doing well and being successful. So it's hard to answer that, as far as there's so many different avenues and paths that they can take. But I would say the sky's the limit. You can do almost anything once you realize what you want to do. So if it is turning wrenches and being a technician, or something a little bit more up, even as far as, we have one that's only a few years out and he's working as a service writer at a local dealership. So if you don't like the turning wrenches of it, but you love cars, you can get into that aspect. We had a kid who absolutely loved cars, but was being kind of pushed into the college environment. The parents wanted him to really do college, but he loved cars and he loved photography. And after 2 years of college, he kind of pulled himself out of college and has actually picked up some magazines where he's selling his photos of vehicles and doing photo shoots on vehicles, because that's his passion. So there's so many avenues that they can choose. It's hard to answer that one for me.
Yeah, a couple kind of niche ones that are out there. I have a former student that works for Pace Bus. I had a student that went down to Southern and went to Fisker, which is another electric car company. That's another weird one. I talked about the classmate of mine who's writing for Car and Driver magazine. So that's another, like, just non-technician, another path. I'm trying to think of like something else that's different. But yeah, those are just a few I could think of off the top of my head.
Awesome. Abe, can you tell us a little bit more about kind of what the apprenticeship program kind of brought to the table for you, and how it maybe helped you get to where you are today? Like, what did you appreciate about it, and what did you get out of it?
I think what I appreciated the most was actually getting the work experience, knowing if this was really what I really wanted to do for the rest of my life, figuring out if turning wrenches, figuring out stuff, diagnosis and stuff is the thing I want to do for another 50, 60 years of my life. I think that's the one thing that stood out the most.
Yeah.
Let me jump in there on that one. And the beautiful thing about the school district that we are in, I do truly think the school is committed, the college and career center is truly committed to the best outcome for your son and daughter. We have internships, and they can be micro or a little bit longer. But while they're in high school, whether they're sophomores, juniors, seniors, we can start at the end of their sophomore year, we can start doing internships. And the idea is, maybe your son or daughter's not committed to being in the automotive field yet. So how do you find out, right? Do you wait until you graduate, start college, and then realize, I don't want to be a technician, right? So with these internships, you can start shadowing and going into garages and dealerships and start to really see, is this something I want to do? In Abe's case, he went into an apprenticeship program, which is a lot more in depth, a lot more hours, but it solidified, as he just said, solidified for him that this is his passion, that is his career choice. And he was set up and doing well long before he graduated high school. And those are the advantages that being in this district can offer all of your kids, as they go through. Work with your college career counselor. Each building has one. Work with your automotive teacher. Each building has one or more. And don't be afraid to ask. Sometimes our kids are just afraid to ask. I hear it from the parents at parent-teacher conference or from a phone call, and the parents are asking me questions, and I'm like, well, the kid was sitting over there. Don't be afraid to ask those questions, and don't be afraid to push your kids to ask those questions to us. I'll speak for all of us. We love to help, and what the answers we don't know, we'll find them. I can call these other automotive. I'm pointing to the different cameras on the screen. We can call each of our other counterparts at the different buildings, and the answer I don't know about Illinois State or SIU, the other teachers know, so I can get firsthand information and get them back to the students. So please ask.
Yeah, and kind of what Sean was getting to it at the beginning of that, I think one of the best things that District 214 offers in all of our buildings is that we offer so many different things now. I'm really, really glad that Abe found that thing that he liked to do, and I'm also pretty sure he found about a dozen things that he didn't like to do while he was going to high school. And I feel just as happy for a student that takes my class and realizes, ooh, this isn't for me. I am just as happy that student learned that when they were 13 as I am when I find out a student is now teaching automotive in a different high school somewhere. Taking as many different classes as you can in high school is the recommendation that I would give to every single person that's here in this Zoom, and for anybody that is in a different Zoom. Go into these buildings, look around the auto shop, look around the fabrication shop, look around the dance studio, look around the English, the law, the medical. You have the opportunity to see all of these different opportunities that you have. Go look at them. Find that room that when you walk into it, it's a place that you think you might want to spend the next 40 years of your life. Maybe it's an auto shop, maybe it's a medical center, maybe it's a fabrication shop or a welding booth. But I don't know of a single other school that offers all of the things that we offer to the level that you get in District 214. It's pretty remarkable. And I really, really hope that everybody takes the opportunity to take a look at a whole bunch of different pathways and kind of don't get stuck on this idea of, well, I want to be X, and you've never taken a class about X in your life. Like, get out there, take that class that you think you might like, and see if you actually like it. Any other questions in the chat?
I would say, thank you all for coming. And again, reach out to any of your automotive teachers and or your college career, people at each of the buildings. I'd also say, we'll stick around for a few minutes, but if you don't have anything else to ask or say, thank you for attending. Sorry if Jim, if you were going to wrap this up, but thank you for attending. Thanks for coming. We'll stick around for a few minutes for any other questions that you may have.
Thank you, everyone.